First broadcast in Japan on Fuji TV on May 20th, 2004, and running for an impressive 26 episodes before its conclusion on March 19th, 2005. This anime, directed by Shinichiro Watanabe, paired with a wonderful myriad of soundtracks, masterfully tells the adventures of three characters: Jin, the cool, calm, and quiet guy; Mugen, the wild street fighter; and Fu. But let's forget about that for a moment. Let's rewind things a bit further back. And let's talk about the man who started this all, Mugen. Right from his debut, from his demeanor to the way he spoke, it was quite obvious the type of character he was. In recent times, the Vagabond has become more widespread in anime, unlike earlier in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. And during the initial stages, it was a good thing. Eventually, the role became more and more generic, and soon its importance questionable. But among the myths that is now the Vagabond, there are a few characters who demonstrate what the Vagabond should be, or define what the Vagabond was supposed to be. And that leads me to the topic of discussion for this video: a character who does both. Right from the moment we saw him, there was quite a lot to deduce about his character. He was selfish, prideful, irresponsible, carefree, gluttonous, mischievous, lazy, and he always acted first and never thought later. This is quite a lot to find out about the character by his first appearance, and nowadays, that's pretty much it. But for Mugen, that's just the beginning. There's so much more. These attitudes were highlighted in the episodes that followed, like in episode 3, where he sat in the midst of the Yakuza and started to eat their food, whilst insulting their pride in a very condescending way. But despite showing genuine disdain for them, he quickly accepted an offer to become a bodyguard, though for a hefty price. Another fine example is in episode 2, where instead of helping Jin out to organize their place for the night, since they couldn't afford a decent one, and to also discuss what they were going to do about Fu's kidnapping, at the prospect of free sex, rather ran off and made out with a random woman he had met that same day, resulting in him getting poisoned. His last really having the time to shine in episode 8, where he spotted a very attractive woman at an eatery, and with his companion Jin, ditched Fu and followed the stranger to a bar, where they drank the night away until they passed out. They were robbed. Looks like he didn't learn from his previous experience. This would be all we would see of Mugen until on their search for the Sunflower Samurai, Mugen and co find themselves on an island. There, Mugen meets two vital pieces of his past, KOZA and Mukuru. It had been such a long time since Mugen had last seen them that he had completely forgotten about them once he set foot on the island. The only thing that was of any concern to him was completing his end of the deal with Fu. So when he met them, he wasn't particularly excited about it. In fact, it was quite the opposite. So much to the point that when KOZA was expressing a desire to run away with Mugen, he completely dismissed the topic, not even wanting to give it the time of day. Despite his reluctance to rekindle old flames, he accepted Mukuru's offer to help him raid the government ship. But in a horrible yet expected twist of fate, Mugen was betrayed and left for dead by Mukuru in a horrible explosion. As Mugen was sinking to his death, he had his life flash before his eyes, recounting all the events that occurred between him, Mukuru and KOZA. A short duel between Mukuru as Mugen was surrounded by flames. The stargazing scene with KOZA, which was promptly interrupted by Mukuru. Mukuru proposing that they raid a cargo ship full of sugar and use that to get off the island. The mission was going well until Mugen was thrown off of the ship and presumed dead, though it was later found out that he survived and was cornered by some Satsuma guards at the edge of a cliff. Denying his death at their hands, he jumped off of the cliff. It is then discovered that Mukuru had set him up from the start. The flashback ended there and Mugen woke up. After being nursed to the point that he could move, he immediately went after Mukuru. On his quest for vengeance, he encountered Jin and it was revealed to him that Mukuru was already dead. At first, Mugen was pissed off that Jin took away his only chance to attune. Mugen was about to express how much killing Mukuru really meant to him, but was exposed to a whole new world by Jin.
I was deceived. We were all played like a fool, as was he.
Then something in him clicked. He knew what really had to be done. As KOZA was leaving with Shiren to paradise, she saw something impossible in the distance. It was Mugen. Shiren immediately sensed the danger of the situation and charged, ready to strike Mugen down, killing him for good, but as a result, met his demise in a flash. With Shiren dead, KOZA knew she was about to meet the same fate, but Mugen spared her. Then it hit her. She was alone, this time for good. And even worse, this was what Mugen wanted. At the start of the arc, Mugen was the same as when we first met him, always refusing to accept the cause of his pain, be it himself or someone close to him, in a futile attempt to free himself of the guilt that slowly welled up within himself. But after almost dying for a second time due to this behavior, he was finally ready to settle things once and for all.
Son of a... That was for me to...
I was deceived. We were all played like a fool, as was he.
Upon hearing those words, he was struck with hopelessness. Now what was he going to do to redeem himself? Then he understood why he was like this. He had to solve things at the root of it all. When Mugen left KOZA stranded, it signified him finally confronting and leaving behind what caused him to be so lost and alone from the start. He had finally taken responsibility for all his bad decisions, and now, with the past where it belongs, he can take his time and focus solely on the future. Mugen's journey is one of self-realization, understanding, and acceptance, where we mustn't shun the darkness in our hearts, but confront and part ways with it, because nobody can run forever. Thank you for getting to the end of this video, and I would like to politely ask you one question. Who is Mugen to you, and what does he symbolize?